Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome to my Mandalorian weekly review. This is Season 2, Episode 5, Chapter 13, ominously titled The Jedi. And obviously be careful for spoilers if you've not watched the episode yet, because we will be talking about that. A lot of people saying this has been their favourite episode so far, and I totally get that. It's been a very, very good episode, and I was really looking forward to this one because it felt like it was going to be a really monumental episode. It's the live action debut of, again, spoilers, Ahsoka Tano, who has been in the animated series since I think 2008, I want to say. So she's really been a character that's developed over a long period of time, and her being in live action was one of those things we never really thought we'd see. But as soon as her name was mentioned a couple of episodes ago, that was it. We knew it was going to happen, so that was great. I mean, there was rumours about the casting, which ended up being true earlier in the year, but it wasn't quite confirmed until we heard her name mentioned. And you're thinking maybe they're going to tease it a little bit and she'll show up later in the episode, but immediately she shows up straight from the get-go. And what I really liked was we've not really seen lightsabers in this show. We saw the dark saber at the end of season 1. That's a whole different thing. But this is the first time we've seen actual lightsabers in action, kind of thing. And Ahsoka has these brilliant white lightsabers, like dual lightsabers, and the planet, I can't remember the name of it now, Corvus, I think it was, that it was set on was all very dark and dingy, and the lightsabers really showed up nicely against. I think that was an intentional choice because it just all looked beautiful. And Rosario Dawson, which is one of those sort of fan castings that people always want, and it actually ended up happening, kind of thing, like when Donald Glover played Lando in Solo, for example. So that's all really cool. Also in this episode was Michael Biehn, which I didn't even realise. I didn't recognise him. I'm really good at recognising people from things and knowing exactly who they are, but it's been so long since not since he's been in anything, but since I personally have seen him in anything, and I just didn't recognise him because obviously he's older than he was when I last saw him in Terminator or whatever. But he's a great actor and I really, really like him. And I also realised, didn't realize at the end of the episode, but the name of the villain escapes me now. The main villain, Elsbeth, I can't remember her first name now, but she was played by, I think it was Diana Lee Inosanto, and the surname Inosanto stuck out to me when I saw it in the credits. I could have got her name wrong, I'm not sure, but she's the daughter of Dan Inosanto, who was one of Bruce Lee's students, which I thought was cool. But yeah, I really like the whole setup for this episode. It was very much a Dave Filoni episode, and it had the really strong Western vibes like the show has generally, but also a really strong samurai element to it, kind of thing, which I thought was really well done, kind of mixing the two. And that's what Star Wars has always been. And I think George Lucas would freely admit that it's a Western mixed with samurai elements, mixed with World War II dogfights and Flash Gordon. Basically, that's what Star Wars is. It's an amalgamation of all these things. And yeah, one of the big things for me was, as a long-term fan of these things and Ahsoka, I thought I want to see Ahsoka and the baby, obviously Baby Yoda, meet, and obviously that was one of the things that happened straight away, which was really cool. But I liked how Mando was under false pretenses sent after Ahsoka. You saw the little owl that Ahsoka has that follows her around just very briefly in the tree, which is a really cool little visual bit. I can't remember the owl's name now. Mari, I think it's called. And I like they established when Ahsoka attacked Mando that the lightsabers don't immediately cut through Beskar like his armor, like they do everything else. Like, I think Beskar must be the only thing in the whole galaxy that lightsabers don't cut through straight away, sort of thing, because that comes into play later on. But for me, the biggest thing from this episode was that we learnt the child's name, which I never thought would happen. Like, it was not never, but not in the second series. I thought this would be much later on, because I think the biggest things about him were you have to find out where he was from, what his name is, and obviously the big one is going to be when he talks for the first time, and I'm not going to be okay when that happens. But yeah, we learn, and again, spoilers if you made it this far, what are you doing? We learned that the child is called Grogu, which I think is a great name, and I loved it, and I loved how Ahsoka just kind of dropped it in casually as well. She was like, "Oh, Grogu and I were just saying," and it's like, that's really cool, and Mando was like, Grogu. But yeah, I like the whole thing with them teaching him how to use his powers and the reasoning why he's a bit afraid to use his powers and that kind of thing. I thought that was all great. So heading into the last act of it, I really liked the older man in the village that they were trying to rescue, who there was a really cool bit where he spoke to Mando earlier, and then there's a great bit later on where he went to rescue some of the other villagers just before Mando did, and it's like, what could he possibly have done? He would definitely have been killed, but he kind of went out there and did that, and I thought it was cool. We saw a Loth cat as well, which we saw in the first series, which if you're a fan of Star Wars Rebels, you'll recognise. Whether that's a hint at Ezra Bridger from Rebels possibly appearing, I don't know, but I liked the simultaneous duels going on, like the more Western style gunslinger duel going on between Michael Bihn's character and Mando, and then the more samurai style duel between Ahsoka and the villain lady. And I like that that's when she had the Beskar spear, so that's when it kind of came into play that lightsabers don't cut through Beskar, so they can have like a duel. I like the kind of the parallels there that were going on simultaneously. Michael Bihn's character kind of reminded me of like an action figure, like an old Star Wars action figure, because he has a very kind of just normal shaped sort of physique, and the armor he had on, actually, while I think about it, I just happen to have a Han Solo retro one. His body kind of reminds me of like that sort of shape, which I think was quite cool, and he seemed to have some sort of older stormtrooper-esque armor going on, but yeah, another big thing out of the episode was we got a name mentioned for Grand Admiral Thrawn, which again, if you're into this stuff for proper, that is a huge deal. And again, it ties into the end of Rebels. I won't be too specific, just in case people haven't seen Rebels. But that is, again, there were so many bits in this episode that were just huge, like drops and that kind of thing. And one thing I noticed on my second viewing was that the old man who tried to save the people was made the new magistrate after the villain lady was defeated. Although we never saw what happened to her, like, because Ahsoka defeated her, asked her where Grand Admiral Thrawn was, and then it cut away. I didn't realise in my second viewing, like, did they kill her? Is she in prison? Like, what actually happened there? I don't know. And then they do a bit where Grogu, Baby Yoda, the child, was supposedly going to be going with Ahsoka, but you knew that wasn't going to happen, obviously. But it was still a nice little moment with him and Mando. And then Ahsoka said he's got to take her to a Jedi temple on the planet I can't remember the name of. And Grogu's going to choose his own path, and they said he'll reach out through the Force and a Jedi might answer the call. But I mean, I don't know how many other Jedi there could possibly be, because you've got Ahsoka, who's not even really a Jedi anymore. Like, by her own admission, she literally said in Rebels, "I am no Jedi." We've obviously got Luke. I mean, it's not impossible that Mark Hamill could make an appearance. I mean, they'd have to de-age him a bit if this is set 5 years after, but, or 10 years after Return of the Jedi, but that's not, again, they de-aged him a bit in Last Jedi as well, when he kind of, in the flashback scenes. But the only other possible one is Ezra Bridger from Rebels, which for me personally I'd absolutely love, but I don't know if he's a bit too obscure a character for the general sort of viewer base of this show. Because, like I said before, the great thing about this show is that it appeals to people like me who are deep into this stuff. It appeals to people who know the Star Wars movies but don't necessarily know a lot of the extra stuff. And it appeals to people who've never even watched Star Wars. That's the great thing about it. So, I mean, they can introduce characters that, like Ahsoka, who's been in plenty of other things but is maybe new to the viewership of this show, and they can introduce her and it'd be absolutely great. But yeah, I really like this episode. I think Series 2 is really, really good. I think it's really just hitting everything and just moving really well. There's 3 episodes left, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. I have no real predictions for the rest of it, but I don't mind that. It's a really good thing to kind of look forward to every week. I like things dropping weekly. I don't like binge watching, so it's but yeah, so I don't know if it's my favourite one, but I really liked it, and it was really, it hit all the right notes for me. So, but yeah, thank you very much for watching. Leave a comment on your thoughts. Please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate it. I'd like to get to 100 subscribers for the end of the year if I can, which would be super cool. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. See you soon. Take care.